How's it going, everybody? My name's Alex, aka Lanky Dragoon, and today I'm going to talk about my time with Lost in Random. Before I get into that, if you like the video, consider hitting that subscribe button down below, leave a thumbs up and comment about your favorite Tim Burton movie. Now let's get into it. EA Originals has been a label under Electronic Arts that I've quickly started to trust with their recent releases. In 2021 alone, this publishing arm has given me two of my favorite gaming experiences with Hazelight Studios' It Takes Two and Velen Studios' Knockout City. So when I saw Lost in Random show up at EA Play Live 2021 as an EA original, I knew I had to give it a try. Lost in Random is about a kingdom called Random that is divided into 6 realms. When children in the realms turn 12 years old, they are required to roll the Queen of Random's cursed 6-sided die. The side that the die lands on determines which of the realms that child will spend the rest of their lives in. The story starts with protagonist Even's twin sister Odd being taken to Sixtopia by the Queen after rolling the die, causing Even to set out in an effort to break the curse on Random and bring her sister home to Onecroft. Along the way, Even stumbles across a magical companion named Dicey that uses their abilities to help her fight off the Queen's minions. Dicey plays a major role in the game's combat, no pun intended. At the start of every combat encounter, Even is only equipped with her trusty slingshot, which she must use to hit crystallized targets on enemies' bodies. In turn, this will drop shards of energy that Dicey will pick up, filling a meter to draw the next card from Even's deck that has the potential to deal damage to her foes. Through these cards is where the root of combat lies, and there are several types that the player can build their deck to favor, or they could choose to maintain a balance within their deck. Once Even has a few cards or a full hand, she's able to throw Dicey out onto the field. Whatever face Dicey lands on is the amount of points that the player can spend on the cards in their current hand, which each have a numeric value. Once returning to combat, the current hand is lost unless the player utilizes pins gained from buying cards at Manny Dex's shop. Combat in Lost in Random starts out simple enough while the game tutorializes the player, but once you get further into the story, there's a level of depth to the combat strategy that was incredibly satisfying. I often found myself contemplating my hand, trying to decide if I should use a card immediately or pin it to my hand and wait for a card that would make for a good combination effect. The random elements of combat kept it fresh and exciting. I never knew what the next hand held or if I'd get enough points from rolling Dicey to even play those cards. Dicey isn't the only friendly face that Even will bump into on her journey. In fact, one of my favorite parts of the game was coming across interesting and sometimes terrifying characters that gave me strong vibes from Henry Selick's The Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, there's even a mayor that is split into 2 different personalities, so it's not like the game is trying to hide where it took inspiration from. Manny Dex is the owner of the shop that players buy their cards from, and that shop also happens to be a cupboard that is part of his body. Royam is the darker personality of the mayor character in Two Town, and he is just the worst at coming up with rhymes, which leads to a boss fight implementing rhymes to split up phases of the fight. Seymour is a wholesome character that Even encounters and is the only one capable of fixing Dicey by repairing his pips to give the player higher rolls. There's a scene towards the end of the game concerning a Grim Reaper character, and he steals the show for the time that he's on screen, which is all too short. The dialogue from Lost in Random genuinely had me laughing out loud in certain moments. I think the humor is some of the best in recent games that I've played. Rather than including dialogue options that only serve the purpose of providing lore or exposition dumps, the writers did a great job providing options that were more focused on responding to the other characters and conversations. The only issue I had with the dialogue of the game is that these conversations with different options to choose from aren't voice acted for Even. I wouldn't say voice acted dialogue is a requirement, especially when some of the best indie games don't have voice acting, but it left me with the impression that the humor of the game would have impacted harder if it was part of a natural conversation. I'll be the first to admit that I've never been a big fan of Tim Burton's animated visual style, but Lost in Random was able to cross that gap and have me admiring the scenery throughout my time with the game. In regards to visuals, the style that caught me off guard was the difference in the 6 realms of Random. The story sets up the realms to be a social class hierarchy where residents of Onecroft, Oners, were the lowest of the low, and the realms would progressively be less dingy, but this wasn't really the case. Sixtopia reminds me of the capital in the Hunger Games, where the 5 other realms are fighting with each other or themselves, and the Queen of Random is benefiting from their conflicts, distracting from their common enemy. As an overall experience, Lost in Random didn't manage to make it to my Game of the Year contenders, but that doesn't mean it isn't a great game. The combat alone is an aspect that I'll be recommending to others for years to come, and I'm sure they'll enjoy the narrative just as much as I did. Thanks for watching my review of Lost in Random. As I mentioned before, consider subscribing to the channel as it really helps me out, and until next time, peace out.